I have been a content creator for over a decade now, but I always find it funny when someone goes to check out my content and says, "Oh, yeah, you have a little bit of a following here, but like, what else do you do?" And I say, "No, I do this full time." And people get very, very confused. I've gotten comments here on this YouTube channel actually with people saying things like, that's a pretty risky move for you to go out on your own and be a full-time creator with only however many followers. So is that true? Am I a crazy person is essentially the question that we're gonna answer in this video. But real talk, for any of you who are thinking about making the leap to leave your 9-to-5 job to focus fully on content creation, what does that really look like? Today I want to talk about the realities of being a full-time micro-influencer, including whether or not I think there is a magic milestone or amount of money you should be making before you leave your job. So let's get into it. If you're new here, I'm a fashion and beauty micro-influencer based in New York City, and I use this channel to help you create great content, grow your digital brand, and earn sustainable income from content creation. So if any of that interests you, please consider subscribing. I think that for the general public, when they think about influencers and people who create content full-time and make money from it, in their head, it's like a math equation of just big audience equals big money. And in 2023, that is simply not the case anymore. I also consider myself a pretty risk-averse person. I like to think through decisions in my life, and I also had 3 other full-time jobs before I ever really went out on my own to pursue content creation. Before I quit my job, I really thought about things like, do I have proof of concept here? Like, do I actually like creating content, have an engaged audience, and feel the desire to still do it on nights, weekends, or any spare time that I wasn't at my 9-to-5 job? And also proof of income, meaning was I bringing in enough money at all or a substantial chunk of money to say, I think if I was spending all of my time doing this, that I could scale this even beyond what I'm doing when I'm just spending a few hours a week on it. So I started my blog in 2012, Keep Calm and Chiffon, and I used the blog as a way to actually start to build writing samples, which led to getting internships at magazines, and that was the original career path that I thought I wanted to go down. And I kept up with my blog, and then of course Instagram, YouTube, other social media platforms that popped up for about 8 years while I was in college, working at other jobs, and also freelance writing. So it was just a thing to me where I could see that it was always going to be there. It was something that I always came back to, and it didn't feel like a fad. No matter what I had going on in my life, no matter how busy things were or where my attention was being pulled, I always intentionally made that time to come back to content creation and put in the effort to grow my presence online. So in both 2019 and 2020, I was able to bring in 5 figures of income from my blog and social media channels as a side hustle. So to be able to make that kind of substantial chunk of change to have on top of my full-time income from my job at the time where I worked at a tech startup, that was a really big deal to me, to be able to say, I did this while I was still working full time, and that gave me the confidence to, in the spring of 2021, actually put in my 2 weeks notice, quit my job, and go out and pursue this. So it's actually coming up on almost 2 years that I've been self-employed, and I'm still standing, I'm still here, and I make 100% of my money from creating content in one way or another. I would also like to add that I live in the New York City area, which is like one of the most expensive places I could possibly be living. My rent is what it is, and so if I am able to do that solely from the money that I've made from content creation and support myself in that way, I think it's safe to say that that commenter really didn't know what they were talking about. And I think that the obsession that people have with your follower count and your audience size is a big part of that. But as you all know, if you've been watching my videos for a while, it's really not just about follower size. Yes, your audience is one part of it, but knowing how to negotiate and understanding industry pay standards is a big part of it. Building relationships with brands and really getting to know them, and also being able to storytell and communicate your unique unique skill set and what makes you special and different from all of the other content creators out there, these are all things that matter just as much, I would argue, if not more, than the size of your community. I wanted to talk a little bit more about, now that I'm here, what that actually looks like. I just realized I'm wearing my rainbow sweater in front of my rainbow bookcase, so color overload today, I love that. So one of the first things that I want to make you aware of is that when you are a full-time micro-influencer, in the beginning at least, that might mean doing a lot of things by yourself. As anyone who has ever tried to start a small business will tell you, being a founder or CEO type of role really requires you to have your hands in pretty much everything. So that can mean a lot of different things. One day you might be dealing with some accounting things, right? Like maybe keeping track of your own taxes, income and expenses, and all of those components. It can also look like being the legal department. Like when I had to initially set up my business and register my business, that was something I really had to learn and navigate on my own. And there are just so many things that come up that you don't necessarily envision that are going to, at the end of the day, land on you. It wasn't until very recently that I actually started hiring on help in a few different areas of my business. So I have some great freelance contractors who are helping me out. Sean, my video editor, hi, while you're editing this. And I also have Kat, who is helping me with some of my course creation stuff for my upcoming course, which is really exciting. But again, I'm almost 2 years into doing this full time, totally by myself. So to be able to start to hire and outsource in some of these areas is also a new learning curve for me too, understanding how to communicate with freelancers, figuring out how to pay them, and do all of these different things too. And so I think that you really want to be prepared for anything. I also want to talk more about kind of like financial mindset and knowing when and how to start like building out a team a little later on in this video. So going back to the beginning stages of this though, if you are a team of one, I think that finding apps or tools that you can use to streamline your workflow and make your content creation process or your business backend process as easy as possible is going to be key. For me, this meant kind of coming up with a process or way to edit and keep track of all of the short form content that I create so that that content isn't just sitting on my camera roll. And I have that now through a project tracker in my Notion hub. And sometimes that might mean doing things like scheduling out your content. So I use Later to schedule content across all of my different platforms. And Later is great because it means that I can stay consistent with content without actually having to remember to post every single day while I might be busy doing other things. So learning and understanding when you are most productive and taking advantage of that, and also batching the work that you need to do, will be really helpful in terms of streamlining your workflow. So for example, for me personally, I have recently come to the revelation that I kind of function on like a grade schooler schedule very well, meaning like I start at 8 a.m., but by 3 p.m. I'm getting a little bit like I need a snack, or like, is it time for soccer practice? Or something like that. Not actually soccer practice, but maybe it's time to go for a walk and listen to a podcast at 3 p.m. because that's when my energy is lowest, and that then allows me to have a little bit of extra energy as I finish out the day, or even sometimes go into what I like to call the night shift, where sometimes I will take on a task that is really, really low brain power like level, where I don't need to be 100% zoned in and focused on a task. Maybe that is something like doing affiliate collages for my Like to Know It, or maybe just updating some old YouTube thumbnails that I'm designing in Canva. So anything that doesn't require hard concentration, like writing a blog post, forget it, couldn't do that at 7 p.m. at night. That needs to be a daytime task for me when I have that schedule kind of laid out. So yeah, understanding what times of day you're most productive, making things easier in your workflow, like batching content all at once or scheduling content, are going to be really key, because again, when it's just you need to protect your energy still and make sure that you are not overloading yourself and that you're making things as easy as possible for you to function as a team of one for however long you need to do that. I also think that it's helpful to write down your processes for different tasks, and this is great for two reasons. Number one, it just makes you feel more legitimate and like a real business owner to be able to refer to a document and be like, okay, this is my process for creating a YouTube short, or this is how I like to answer my Instagram DMs. And it might seem a little silly to do those things in the moment, but by documenting it, like I said, you're starting to build legitimacy and kind of a document archive in your business. And when you are able to finally start outsourcing and hiring help, it makes everything so much easier to have a written explanation of how you do things so that you can pass that off to your new hire and they already have something to go off of, and you don't have to re-explain every little detail of it to them. Another example of that is that I gave Sean, my video editor, a style guide for my YouTube channel, calling out some of the fonts and colors that I use in my branding, also talking about like, here's how I do the end screen, or here are where I like to add in little dings or things like that, so that obviously he can take it away and use his expertise to edit this video and make it look amazing, but that those consistencies that are in the rest of my YouTube videos that people are used to seeing, or that I think help make me present a consistent front online, are kind of all accounted for. And I think that this is, again, such a great way to save yourself time later on and also just kind of reinforce the practices of what you're doing. I did also want to add that if you are a team of one, that doesn't mean that you are alone. There are so many great creator communities online that you can join and kind of just feel like you're a part of something. You can ask any questions that you want to. You can kind of see what other people are doing. And I love having communities like this. And if you don't know, I am actually the co-creator of a community like this. It's called the Influencer Group Chat. And that is a community that hosts weekly rooms on Clubhouse. Right now we do Monday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I host with my friend Tanisha. She's really great. You guys will love her if you have not met her already. And we also have a Facebook group for the Influencer Group Chat, so people can come in there and ask questions about negotiating or brands or Instagram engagement or honestly anything that they want to. So definitely consider checking out the Clubhouse Club and the Facebook group. The next big thing I want to talk about is money and how you make money as a micro influencer. And this is kind of the key thing that I think the general public or maybe new creators don't totally understand about how to make money as a micro influencer. Because I think traditionally people think of influencers as people who have big audiences and who work with brands and get paid a lot. And that is kind of a traditional influencer. And that's the kind of influencer that I think really thrived between like 2012 and maybe 2017. So in that sense, there might be a content creator who has like 150,000 followers who charges $5,000 for an Instagram post, and if they work with 20 brands in 1 year, they made $100,000. Just checking my math on that. All right, I was right. So that's one example of how traditionally an influencer might be making money. But when you think about a smaller content creator like me, I'm probably not going to be charging $5,000 for a single Instagram post. So I might still be able to get paid by brand partners and get paid pretty well. Like I've done tons of different four-figure brand collaborations in the past, which I'm so appreciative and grateful for all of the brands who have worked with me. But doing that is not necessarily enough to create a full-time salary from content creation. So think about it this way. If a bigger content creator has a much easier time getting brand deals and can charge much more for them, they are kind of going the route of a depth revenue stream where they are able to make a lot of their money for the year just from that one income stream. But what you might want to think about if you are a micro influencer is going more broad with your revenue streams and starting to question, what other ways aside from the traditional ways could I be making money as a content creator? I currently have 8 revenue streams that make up the entirety of my income, and it's because of these 8 revenue streams that I am able to be a full-time micro influencer. Because if I was just relying on the money that I made from brand partnerships, that's just not enough to sustain me living, and for that to be my full-time income, it would not be enough to live off of. So whenever whenever I hear people say that they want to do this full time, I think that it's so important to add in any consistent revenue streams where you know you're going to be making money month over month, and also passive revenue streams where you're able to make money based on something that you've set up once and kind of just let roll. By going this route, you might be making more smaller incremental money from a lot of different areas, but over time, those can all snowball and add up and be a really nice supplement to other income that you already have from doing things like creating content, working with brands, appearing at events, and other kind of more service-based income streams. If you want to learn more about how to start and scale passive revenue streams in your business, I am so excited to share that my course, the Influencer Income Accelerator, is officially open for enrollment today. So you guys can check out more information and sign up for the course at the link down below in the description box. And this course is really going to help you figure out all of the different ways to make money, identify which passive revenue streams might be great to add to your own influencer business, and then put systems in place to effectively manage your time to make sure you're really getting everything done, and also scale your content so that your revenue can scale as well. As I've talked about a lot already in this video, I truly believe that passive revenue streams are one of the keys to success and one of the things that have enabled me to feel comfortable going out on my own as a micro influencer. So again, you can read more about the course at the link down below in the description box, and I hope to see you inside. One of the next things that I want to talk about in terms of the realities of being a full-time micro influencer is a little something called scarcity mindset. I have definitely been a victim of scarcity mindset in my day, which is basically just the idea that there is only so much of something out in the world and that more of it can't be created. And I really want to talk about scarcity mindset through the lens of both money and also competition. So if you guys watched my recent video talking about the potential recession and how that might impact the creator economy, one of the things that I spoke about in that video is the rise of content creators and how we've really experienced a content creator boom between 2020 and 2023, where there are just more people creating content than ever before, which I love, by the way. But it's important to remember that as the competition grows, then it's also going to be up to you to find ways to stay relevant, continue to scale your audience, and also stand out when you're trying to get brand sponsorships or other opportunities. And the reason that I say that I love having so many other content creators out in the world is because when it comes to competition, it might be easy to start to get into the mindset of thinking like, oh, you know, I applied for this brand deal and I saw this other creator get it, and that creator took that opportunity away from me. I have absolutely had those thoughts before, and I'm just here to tell you that they will not serve you in any way, and that it's much more important to think about the short-term and long-term impacts of these things. Because in the short term, sure, maybe a brand picked your fellow content creator over you for a campaign, but maybe that was motivation for you to send them an email to say hi and check in with them. And maybe that helps you earn a multi-month campaign with them later on down the road. I also think that whenever you feel a bit of jealousy or, just little like voice in the back of your head going, oh my God, I wish that was me. That's also a great opportunity to reach out to whoever kind of beat you out from that opportunity or just happened to have things work out for them this time, to just reach out to them and congratulate them. Like, you would be surprised how putting out all of that good karma into the universe, whatever you want to call it, will actually come back and help you in the long run as well. Because by being someone who's really gracious, who can prove to be a cheerleader for other people, and who isn't dwelling on something that just didn't happen for them for one reason or another, that's the kind of person who people want to invite to events. That's the kind of person who will cheer you on in return, maybe repost your reel to their Instagram stories, get exposed to their audience. When you put in this good positive energy, even at times when you feel like, I wish this was me, or like, I'm so sad this didn't work out for me, I promise it's such a better use of your time, and when you have limited time as a solopreneur, you can't afford to waste any of it on worrying about what could have happened for you or what didn't work out this week. And the other thing I want to talk about in terms of scarcity mentality is the money side of things. Because of course, like again, if you're doing this, if you're going to be a full-time micro influencer, you are a small business owner. And I think that it is so important to remember that. And whenever I first started making money from content creation, I was genuinely just so excited about it that I could not believe like when brands would pay me or when I would get a check from YouTube or any of that stuff. And I felt a really big like kind of tendency to just be like, okay, now hold on to that money, like hold on to it because you don't want it going anywhere. You want to make sure it's deposited in your bank account, that it's all yours, that it's like actually real, because sometimes it does still just feel like a dream to actually get paid to create content. And I'm sorry, I can't remember who I was talking to earlier this week. I think someone in my DMs was talking about this with me. So if that was you and you follow me on Instagram, thank you for saying this. But someone who I was DMing with talked to me about the idea of not necessarily spending money, but investing money, because I had gone on Instagram stories to talk about how I had actually finally like hired a bit of help and how excited I was, and how at first I was a little bit nervous to be spending the money. And I realized that I'm not spending money on frivolous things. I'm spending money on people who are really helping me scale more beyond what I could do by myself. And that is such a good feeling. And this person DM'd me and said, yeah, don't think of it as spending, think of it as investing. And I was like, I literally love that, because as a small business owner, it's going to be up to you to decide things like, okay, I actually need a new camera for my YouTube channel. Now is the time to buy it, versus maybe I can still get away with creating videos on my other camera while I put this money towards something new. And so I think that when you do think about starting to outsource or hire help as a micro influencer, it's really key to think about what will give you the most time back in your day, what is something that someone is just clearly so much better at than you and will make you look better by being able to hire them. And also maybe if there are things in your business that you've never done before, that's a great time to outsource, because if you don't know that process inside and out, then you can't micromanage it. You can't do it. That is kind of how I ended up hiring on Kat, who is my VA, while I create my course materials, because I've never created a full-blown course before. This is my first time going through that process. And so to have her say things like, oh, this is the platform you're hosting your course on, like, yeah, I use that all the time. Thank you. That's one less thing I need to learn. And she gets paid to do it. So I think that when it comes to, again, thinking about outsourcing and hiring help, it really is an investment. And it's one of those things where you have to figure out what is worth it to invest in that will really help you scale, and where can you save money also and do things yourself. And I do think that it's great that I know how to edit my own YouTube videos, but I can fully acknowledge when I can only take it so far. And another thing I really want to make sure I touch on in this video is basically the power of you. And it might be a little bit cheesy, this part, but I do think it's important to acknowledge that you are your best superpower. You are that like secret sauce that no one else has and that no one else can be. And as we talked about before, as the competition grows and just more content creators pop onto the scene, you get to lean in even more to what makes you unique and why people should follow you versus plenty of other content creators who they might be interested in following along with. I've seen a lot of these videos going around on my TikTok For You page lately about the idea of you are your niche. And I do think that this is becoming a more common theme amongst up and coming influencers and content creators, especially on short form video platforms, because while niching down can be really helpful in terms of accelerated growth, I think in terms of the long term for content creators, you want to ask yourself, like, what do I want to be known for? Because I think that that will help drive your content and also can help integrate content creation a bit more with your day-to-day life, so that it feels a little bit less like work to create content and appears to be a bit more of a documentation process. Oh wow, I just had a thought about picturing like my YouTube channel as this almost like docu-series behind the scenes of my business, which I guess in a way it sort of is. And I can't wait to watch this back in 50 years and be like, It's so cool to have a record of my thoughts on all of these things. But 2 kind of practical tips on the note of the power of you that I think are important for influencers are, number 1, to make it really clear on your social profiles whenever someone new kind of stumbles upon your Instagram or your YouTube channel, can they, from a really quick glance, get a sense of your personality, understand visually maybe what type of content you create. If they see a lot of outfit photos, maybe they can deduce you're a fashion content creator right off the bat, and just make it as easy as possible for someone to want to spend more time with you. And then the other key thing that I think you can do as a content creator is be a good storyteller, both in kind of the content you create and also how you work with brand partners, because one of the things that's definitely helped me secure 4-figure brand partnerships as a micro influencer is being a good storyteller and letting brands know what working with me is like as an overall experience. So in my media kit, for example, I share things about my background as a magazine editor, how that informs my content creation process, and also just the fact that I've been doing this for 10 years, that I am good at responding to emails, like I don't want to leave anyone hanging, I'm good at meeting deadlines. All of those little things factor into what makes you an enjoyable person to work with, just as much as how good is your content and how many people is it reaching. So remembering to be a good storyteller and try to communicate to your brand partners what the unique experience of working with you is like. I mean, that's been really key, I think, to my success as a micro influencer. And so if any of you are also in the same boat, I hope you take that advice as well. You know, now that I brought up looking back on this channel in 50 years and kind of thinking about just the overall evolution of my journey here on YouTube, it has got me thinking that I would really love to start incorporating a little bit of vlog style footage on this channel. So I don't know whether that would be just more vlog footage and B-roll as I talk through videos, or whether that would be actual vlogs like a day in my life and behind the scenes of my business. So please let me know in the comments down below if that is something that would interest you. I used to vlog a lot on this channel and I really did love it, but since this topic about content creation tips and this kind of niche is what people were most interested in, I have really kind of leaned into it and have such a great backlog of videos now about all things influencer marketing and creator economy. But I really do enjoy creating blog style content, so if that's something you're interested in seeing, please do let me know. And also don't forget to check out my course, the Influencer Income Accelerator, now open for enrollment. If you enjoyed hearing all of what I talked about today, the course is very similar, and it actually dives deeper just from kind of listing things and telling you information to giving you the framework to put things into practice and giving you some support documents along the way, group calls with me to talk about things more. So definitely go check it out and consider joining. If you have any questions about the course, you can leave me a comment down below on this video or send me a DM on Instagram at Austen Tosone, and I'll be sure to get back to you. And last but not least, if you're interested in hearing the backstory of how I financially prepared to take content creation full time, check out the up next recommendation on the screen for another video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.